Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're diving into the story of an aircraft that was supposed to be the ultimate helicopter of our generation. It was a masterpiece forged by the combined might of European superpowers. Imagine a helicopter with flawless specs on paper, packed with the most cutting-edge technology and designed to execute almost any mission you could throw at it. But in reality, this aircraft sent shockwaves through the global military community, and not for its brilliance. Instead, it made headlines because multiple countries grounded it, retired it years ahead of schedule, and even filed massive lawsuits demanding full refunds. Today, we're dissecting the epic saga of the NH90, a helicopter surrounded by controversy, national drama, and the lingering question: how did something built to be the best turn into a logistical nightmare for so many armed forces? Let's rewind to the late Cold War era. NATO allies in Europe were all facing the exact same problem. Their aging fleets of UH-1 Hueys and Pumas were nearing the end of their service lives. They desperately needed a next-generation aircraft capable of handling future threats. This shared need sparked a massive joint venture between France, Germany, Italy, and the Netherlands to create a company called NH Industries. Their ultimate goal: to build a medium-sized twin-engine helicopter with unparalleled multi-role capabilities, something that could handle both tactical army transport and advanced naval anti-submarine warfare. They named the project the NATO Helicopter for the 90s, or as we know it today, the NH90. The ambition behind this project went way beyond just building another helicopter. The goal was to cram the absolute most advanced tech of the era into a single airframe. The NH90 became the first helicopter in the world to feature full fly-by-wire flight controls. This meant pilots were no longer pulling mechanical cables. Instead, electronic signals told a computer how to control the aircraft, drastically improving stability and reducing pilot workload. On top of that, the entire airframe was built from composite materials. This didn't just shed a ton of weight, it made the aircraft highly resistant to corrosion, reduced its radar signature, and provided incredible crash survivability. The design was split into two main variants: the TTH for tactical troop transport and the NFH for naval frigate operations. To truly appreciate this engineering marvel, let's look at the baseline specs, the armament, and the price tag. And to give you a clear perspective, I'm going to put it side by side with its ultimate rival, the UH-60M Black Hawk. Looking at the numbers in this table, it's pretty obvious that the NH90 specs are absolutely top tier. With a 5-hour flight endurance, a cabin spacious enough for 20 troops, and an incredible sensor suite, it easily sits at the forefront of the medium lift category. But the real jaw-dropper here is the price tag. When you compare it to a battle-hardened workhorse like the Black Hawk, the NH90 costs more than double. At an estimated $45 million per unit compared to the Black Hawk's $21 million, it's no surprise that the nations writing those massive checks expected absolute perfection and top-tier combat readiness. They wanted a reliable new warhorse, but instead what they got was a headache of epic proportions. The first major red flag that started frustrating operators was the agonizing delivery delays. The project was tangled in extreme engineering complexity and the political red tape of its member nations. Because of this, the first helicopters weren't even delivered until the late 2000s. But the delays were nothing compared to what happened when the aircraft actually hit the field. Multiple countries started running into persistent, unfixable issues. For example, the composite material, while great for weight and rust prevention, proved to be shockingly fragile in real combat environments. Some armies reported that the cabin floors simply couldn't handle the weight of muddy, rock-covered combat boots, resulting in actual structural damage. On top of that, the front windshields were cracking far too easily. These seemingly small issues created a massive domino effect that turned routine maintenance into a nightmare. And speaking of maintenance, this is the true Achilles heel of the NH90. The maintenance to flight hour ratio was absolutely staggering. Several militaries reported that they had to spend dozens of hours working on the chopper on the ground just to get one single hour of flight time. Operating costs spiraled completely out of control. Spare parts were notoriously hard to source, and wait times were endless. Because of this, the operational readiness of NH90 fleets plummeted to unacceptable levels. There were periods where less than half of a nation's fleet was even airworthy. This disastrous situation eventually pushed major international clients to do the unthinkable: cancel their contracts and walk away entirely. Norway was the first to brutally rip the Band-Aid off. The Royal Norwegian Air Force had ordered 14 NFH variants for Coast Guard and anti-submarine duties. But after dealing with delivery delays of over a decade and realizing the choppers were only delivering about 30% of their promised flight hours due to endless glitches, their patience finally snapped. In 2022, Norway abruptly canceled the entire contract, grounded the aircraft they had already received, and sued for a full refund with interest. This legal saga dragged on until late 2025, ending with NH Industries surrendering and agreeing to a massive $432 million out-of-court settlement in exchange for Norway shipping every single helicopter and spare part back to the factory. It was one of the most painful military procurement disasters in recent history. And it wasn't just Norway. Australia was another major player who simply couldn't stomach the NH90, which they called the MRH90 Taipan. The Australian military battled software bugs, engine issues, and a series of accidents that led to frequent fleet-wide groundings. The breaking point hit in July 2023, when a fatal crash during a training exercise claimed the lives of 4 soldiers. The Australian government immediately grounded the entire fleet and announced they were permanently retiring the Taipan, a staggering 14 years before its planned retirement date. But the drama didn't end there. While Ukraine desperately pleaded for the retired choppers to use in their war against Russia, Australia flat out refused, citing safety concerns and unsolvable spare part shortages. Instead, they took the unprecedented step of stripping the aircraft of high-value parts and then literally burying the remaining airframes in the dirt. To fill the massive hole in their inventory, they fast-tracked a deal to buy UH-60M Black Hawks from the US. If you thought that was the end of it, let's look at the latest updates in 2026. Belgium became the next casualty, with their defense minister slamming the NH90 as a terrible purchase due to its exorbitant maintenance costs. They officially phased out their TTH models in September 2025, waiting on H145Ms to replace them. And by early 2026, Belgium confirmed they were preparing to scrap their naval NFH models as well, to be done with the headache for good. Sweden also joined the exodus, announcing they were slashing the project and slowly phasing out the NH90 in favor of American Black Hawks and Seahawks. Amidst this massive wave of rejections, many defense analysts began calling the NH90 one of the biggest failures in the history of the European defense industry. This brings up a fascinating debate in the military community. Why is a helicopter design from the 1970s, like the UH-60 Black Hawk, managing to completely outperform and outsell cutting-edge European technology today? The answer lies in the design philosophy. The NH90 was heavily over-engineered. They tried to cram every possible innovation into it so it could perfectly execute any mission, but that became a double-edged sword. With extreme complexity, countless sensors, and fragile computers, it essentially became a high-end European sports car, finicky, easily broken, and requiring highly specialized mechanics. The Black Hawk, on the other hand, is built like a rugged pickup truck. It might not have the most luxurious tech, but its conventional mechanics have been battle-tested in the world's harshest war zones. Spare parts are everywhere, and field repairs are fast and easy. When high combat readiness is the priority, most militaries will gladly trade bleeding-edge tech for something that simply works. However, if you talk to the men and women who actually operate the NH90, you get a remarkably different perspective. Test pilots and active-duty aviators almost universally agree. If you take away the maintenance headaches, the NH90 is one of the most incredible helicopters to actually fly. The smart fly-by-wire system acts like a co-pilot, automatically stabilizing the aircraft and fighting intense crosswinds, which massively reduces pilot fatigue. The cabin is also incredibly spacious. Troops can walk in comfortably without having to crouch or squeeze together. The NH90's real problem was never its flight performance. It's the fact that it was simply too delicate and high maintenance for the grueling, muddy reality of military operations. But wait, amidst all the bad press, there's another side to this story. While several clients threw in the towel, other nations have doubled down and are using the aircraft to its full potential. Take New Zealand, for example. In late 2025, the Royal New Zealand Air Force flew an NH90 all the way across the Tasman Sea from Australia back home, setting a massive distance record. On top of that, between late 2025 and 2026, countries like Spain and the Netherlands actually signed new contracts to buy dozens more of these aircraft. And the French and Italian navies still strongly maintain that for incredibly complex missions like anti-submarine warfare, the NH90's sensor suite integrates with modern warships better than anything else on the market. To prove that this project is far from dead, early in 2026, NH Industries announced a massive milestone. The global NH90 fleet officially surpassed 500,000 flight hours. Moving forward, the manufacturing consortium is heavily investing in a new architecture known as Block 2. The goal is to overhaul the software, drastically improve part reliability, and slash the maintenance burden, keeping this platform in the skies all the way into the 2080s. Ultimately, the story of the NH90 is a very expensive lesson for the global defense industry. It proves that combining the world's most advanced technology on a piece of paper doesn't guarantee success on a real battlefield. Too much complexity can lead to maintenance nightmares and cost overruns that force even the richest nations to back out. For some countries, it was an overpriced nightmare they couldn't wait to scrap. But for others, it's a high-performance warhorse, provided you have the patience and the budget to maintain it. What do you guys think? Is the NH90 a catastrophic military failure, or is it simply an innovation that was ahead of its time and just needs to be dialed in? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoy deep dive military analysis like this, don't forget to hit that like button, share, and subscribe to the channel. My name is Mix, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.